Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's August 22nd. At the cabin, a mullein has seeded itself into one of my beds, and I'm letting it grow because I was touring gardens in Washington, D.C. a few years ago, and the garden had a section for mulleins, and it was so pretty. On more than one occasion, I have had to rescue it to make sure no one in the family pulled it or weed whacked it. And now there it stands, 6 feet tall, big leaves, soft like lamb's ears, and the yellow florets are just starting to pop out from the flower spike. If you look closely at mulleins, they have these little fine hairs on their soft leaves. And the purpose of those fine hairs is to trap moisture to help the plant survive, even when there's no water around. Inside the leaf in the flower of mullein is a compound called mucilage. It's a soothing property, a soothing chemical, and it protects tissue that it comes into contact with. So herbalists use that mucilage to treat dry coughs. The mucilage reduces the acidity level in the esophagus, which keeps that vagus nerve calm and stops the cough reflex. Mullein has been used in ear oils for children, and you can make a mullein tea that has sedative properties. Whenever I see mullein, I always think of Whitman's charming thoughts on it. He wrote, "The farmers, I think, find the mullein a mean, unworthy weed, but I have grown a fondness to it. Every object has its lesson, enclosing the suggestion of everything else. And lately, I sometimes think all is consecrated for me in these hardy, yellow-flowered weeds. As I come down the lane early in the morning, I pause before their soft, wool-like fleece and stem and broad leaves, glittering with countless diamonds. Annually, for 3 summers now, they and I have silently returned together. At such long intervals, I stand or sit among them, musing of my sane or sick spirit, here as near at peace as it can be." Here's today's brevities. It was on this day in 1745 that Prince Charles Stuart plucked a white rose and placed it in his hat. Charles got the nickname Bonnie Prince Charlie, and some have speculated that it might have started some symbolism as the burnet rose, a white rose, became a symbol of Scotland. Here's a little poem about the little white rose from Hugh MacDiarmid. "The rose of all the world is not for me. I want for my part only the little white rose of Scotland that smells sharp and sweet and breaks the heart." And today in 1830, the first lawnmower was invented by Edward Beard Budding. Budding had adopted a machine that was used to remove nap from wool. Budding had been working part-time at a carpet mill, and he got the idea when he was working there, watching that machine with the wool. Budding apparently tested his machine at night so that his neighbors wouldn't be curious or make fun of him. And if you ever get the chance to go and see the Budding Museum of Gardening, it looks like a fun place to go. It shows lawnmowers from all over, and there's a pruning exhibit, and it's in England. It's a cute little museum. And today is the birthday of the botanist Jacob Weidenmann, who was born on this day in 1829 in Zurich, Switzerland. Weidenmann was a landscape architect. He came to the United States in 1856. In 1861, he was named the first superintendent of the parks for Hartford, Connecticut. When he was there, he designed the Bushnell Park in Cedar Hill Cemetery. In the 70s, he was collaborating with Frederick Law Olmsted. In 1871, Weidenmann published his very first book. It was called Beautifying Country Homes. His work on the Cedar Hill Cemetery led him to write a book called Modern Cemeteries, where he actually talked about how to landscape memorial grounds. When Weidenmann had finished designing in Hartford, he was asked to design the Capitol grounds in Des Moines. When Weidenmann died, he was buried in a quiet corner of the cemetery he had designed. And today, Harvard awards the Weidenmann Prize to the student with outstanding ability in landscape design. And finally, today is National Eat a Peach Day. Peaches are native to China, and August is one of the harvest months for the fruit. Thomas Jefferson had peaches growing at Monticello. The scientific name for peaches is Prunus persica. Prunus persica means Persian plum. It derives from an early European belief that peaches were native to Persia, but actually, as I've already stated, they were originally from China. In Unearthed Words, here's a poem from Cecil Day Lewis from Overtures to Death and Other Poems. In June, we picked the clover and seashells in July. There was no silence at the door, no word from the sky. A hand came out of August and flicked his life away. We had no time to bargain, mope, moralize, or pray. Today's book recommendation is Herbal Healing for Women by Rosemary Gladstar. This book is a favorite among women and female gardeners looking to utilize herbs for women's health. Specifically, there are tons of great recipes in here and lots of useful information. This book covers common disorders and the herbs that are effective for treating them. Gladstar shares how to select in-store herbs and then how to pair hundreds of herbal remedies. I think what's especially helpful about this book is Rosemary's explanation of the properties of herbs, and then not only how the herbs are healing, but how they promote good health as well. Rosemary is called the godmother of modern herbalism. For today's garden chore, spruce up the ironwork in your garden. The other day, I was at a big box store looking for some pieces of my irrigation system, and I remembered to pick up some cans of spray paint. I bought a table and chairs from a friend, and it's amazing how good it looks now with a fresh coat of white paint. For other ironwork that I want to maintain a more natural look, I just get some clear coat and spray that over the top. And if you're doing lots of spray painting, like I was with that table and chairs, it makes sense to buy one of those little spray grips that you attach to the top of your spray paint cans so your fingers don't get tired. You can find those in your big box hardware stores as well. They're usually sold right by the paint cans, but they're totally worth the investment. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. Here's an interesting story that was shared in the Montclair Times in 1903. An amateur botanist and his friend were passing by a florist, and they spied an elephant ear. The botanist asked, "Have you ever tasted elephant ears?" The companion replied, "No, I never have." And the botanist said, "Well, that's a good thing for you, although it is an experience that will remain in your memory for a long time to come. I remember Oh, it seems like 100 years back, yet the incident is fresh in my mind and as clear as crystal. When 3 boys were leaning across a wall, looking at the plant in a garden. I was one of the boys, and the other 2 were telling me what a sweet taste the plant had. One of the boys put a piece in his mouth, at least he pretended to, and I agreed to chew some as well. Well, persimmons are as sugar compared to the drawing and bitterness of the elephant leaf. And for a half an hour after I had put the bit of leaf in my mouth, I drank enough water to float a ship. If you want to eat elephant ears, it's their tuber that's edible. The leaves and the stem are the most toxic parts of the plants. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.